Chapter 244. Given the current situation, no matter how anxious Zhou Fu was, it was useless. The only way was to raise his strength. He could no longer rely on the giant whale. Xing Feng only treated him as a tool. Moreover, his relationship with Xing Feng was unclear. Who knew what Xing Feng was thinking? As for Xing Gang, it was already good enough that he did not add insult to injury in times of crisis. He could not be counted on. As he swallowed the blood yang pills one by one, the 3 cycles of origin transformation technique was fully activated. A large amount of essence was absorbed and turned into experience points. Just as Zhou Fu swallowed the 20th pill, a bloated feeling came from his body, as if he had eaten too much. There's an upper limit to this thing? Zhou Fu's eyes widened. He could not accept the new situation. Not only was there a limit to the experience points, but there was also a limit to how much he could level up every day. How was he supposed to continue this? At this time, Zhou Fu's status panel showed that his experience points had reached 35%. 10 points a day. Damn it. This is too slow. Zhou Fu glared at the support interface. Although he was annoyed, there was nothing he could do. He could not control this thing. Should I look for more mutated humans to kill? An idea appeared in his mind, but he rejected it immediately. Killing mutated humans was not a problem. The problem was that he did not know where they were. Even if he went to Qingtian County's Changle Village and slaughtered everyone there, he would not be able to level up. Moreover, after what happened last time, Changle Village must have been cleared out. Even if he went there, it would be useless. This is difficult. After lamenting for a while, Zhou Fu sat up. Although it was easy to give up, the problem that he was about to face could cost him his life. For his life, Zhou Fu could only think of ways to increase his strength. He closed his eyes and began to meditate. The great Sun True Qi in his body was activated. Right now, every bit of improvement in his strength would be a bit more beneficial to him. Time flew by. 4 hours had passed. Zhou Fu opened his eyes and stood up. Currently, the meridians in his body were filled to the brim. Moreover, he was mentally exhausted. At this time, the sky outside the window was already dark. It should be 10 past midnight. He pushed the door open and walked out of the room. "Young master, are you done with your cultivation? The meal is ready. You can eat at any time." Yuju's voice sounded. Zhou Fu smiled and nodded. "All right, I happen to be a little hungry now." On the dining table, plates of dishes were placed on the table. Zhou Fu ate in big mouthfuls. While he was eating, he opened the attribute panel. He was stunned by what he saw. His experience bar went from 35% to 45%. What was going on? Where would the experience points come from? He quickly looked at the notification bar. Ding! Cultivating Great Sun True Qi, experience points increased. The series of notifications made Zhou Fu burst with joy. After 4 hours of cultivation, his experience bar had increased by 10%. With the addition of the pills, it had risen by 20% today. Before Zhou Fu could continue to be happy, he suddenly thought of an important matter, and that was that he did not have enough pills. "If I don't have enough pills, I'll make up for it with cultivation." Zhou Fu quickly finished his meal. After a simple wash, he lay down and went to sleep. He needed to rest well and continue his cultivation tomorrow. The next day, Zhou Fu woke up early in the morning and checked the condition of his meridians. "I can cultivate now." After a night of 8 hours of rest, with his strong physique and extremely fast recovery speed, his body had recovered and he could cultivate at any time. 3 more days, no. In 2.5 days, I will be able to advance by 1 level. At that time, my ability to protect myself will be greater. Thinking of this, Zhou Fu's mood suddenly became better. Even the cold winter was so comfortable. Cultivate. For the next 2 days, Zhou Fu devoted himself to cultivation. Other than that, he did not care about anything else. Giant whale. Gang looked at the spy in front of him and asked, "After Zhou Fu came back, what did he do?" "Master, after Zhou Fu came back, he met with Huang Feng, Zhang Yao, and Duan Qing. After that, he has been in the training room." The spy lowered his head and replied, "Every day in the training room?" Gang frowned. "Didn't he jump around all the time? He was like a monkey. If he didn't find something to do, he would be bored to death. This time, he actually became a teacher. Did something happen to him?" Suddenly, he thought of the place Zhou Fu went to some time ago. Could it be he really got something from Changle village? Thinking about it again, he was not sure. It shouldn't be. The entrance there is sealed, and with his current strength, he can't beat that tree demon. Zhang Yao. According to Zhou Fu's character, he should have gone to kill Zhang Yao. At most, he would kill a few tree demons and absorb some spirit energy. The spy said again, "Master, we found something else." "Speak." "Yes. Recently, a large number of extraordinary experts have come to Ning in East, South, West, and Central City. It is estimated that at least 100 extraordinary experts will come this year." 100. Gang's face showed disdain. A group of people from the wilderness who don't cultivate properly. With some talent and luck, it's good enough that they can reach this level. They actually want to come to Ning and East and interfere. They are all courting death. "Master, we also found that the extraordinary experts who came to Ning and East are all being watched by Zhou Fu's men." Gang's eyes lit up. He immediately understood Zhou Fu's abnormal behavior. "I see. The experts of unknown origins are pressuring him. Kid, weren't you very arrogant a while ago? You even wanted to sweep Ning and East. You have courage, but your appetite is a bit small." Gang laughed strangely and waved his hand to dismiss the spy. After the spy left, the room quieted down. Gang walked to the window and said to himself with a mocking expression, "So what if you're with third brother? I'm afraid you still don't know what's going on. TSK, how pitiful! How pitiful! Ha 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 ha." After laughing for a while, Gang stopped. "Zhou Fu and third brother's deal is probably to stop me at that time. Third brother probably knows about Zhou Fu's improvement speed, so he wants him to beat me up in public and break my martial arts heart. I see. Third brother, you are still so insidious. But now that I know, will I still let you get what you want? You want to see my men counterattack me. Why wouldn't I want you to have a taste of your own scheme?" Another burst of laughter. Looking at the twinkling stars in the winter night, Gang took a deep breath. His eyes flashed. "If you don't tell Zhou Fu what will happen, then I will tell him. I will also guide him and let him know what you want to do, and what he will lose. I didn't expect that without relying on pills, I can gain 20% experience by cultivating my inner strength every day. If this is the case, then I can keep the pills. I will use them when I am pressed for time. I can just meditate." Looking at the full amount of experience points, Zhou Fu chuckled. "Level up." Ding. Realm level up. Current blood transformation 3rd realm. The boiling hot flow once again flowed through his body. This familiar feeling was the same as the last time he leveled up. It's finally over. This feeling of my whole body melting is really uncomfortable. Zhou Fu stood up and circulated his inner strength. The hot breath burned away the impurities that flowed out of his body. After washing up, Zhou Fu sat in the courtyard. The north wind in winter couldn't bring him a trace of coldness. Looking at the attribute panel, Zhou Fu calculated his strength. Wisdom King Scripture can level up by 2 more levels. Tri-wheel Origin Transformation Technique can level up by 4 more levels. Adamantine Battle Body can level up by 4 more levels. Spring Wind and Rain Nourishing Technique can level up by 2 more levels. Zhou Fu's eyes suddenly widened. He stared straight at the description of the Great Sun True Qi. Level complete, realm, beginner, can be leveled up. F***ck. Level up, and I still need to level up? That means, not only do I need to level up my cultivation technique, but I also need to level up my cultivation technique? The programmer who developed the auxiliary system must have been a planner from the goose factory, and then changed his profession to program development. Which normal person would do such a thing? At this moment, Zhou Fu's mentality was a bit broken. His main cultivation technique hadn't been fully leveled up, and now he saw the path of leveling up. This was F***king endless. Moreover, he still didn't know how much experience points he needed to level up his cultivation technique. If he still needed full experience points to level it up, then he was done for. Following Zhou Fu's thoughts, the plus sign behind the cultivation technique all darkened. Subconsciously, it reminded Zhou Fu not to think about it, it couldn't be leveled up. Zhou Fu was speechless. Needless to say, this was quite humane, but it was a bit hurtful. Just as Zhou Fu continued to study, Huang Feng and the others came again. Sir. Huang Feng took out a small box and placed it on the table. Here are the pills that were refined in the past few days. There are a total of 25 pills. There's no need to rush this. Just deliver them once every 10 days. Huang Feng was stunned. He remembered that 3 days ago, Zhou Fu wasn't like this. When he heard about the production of the pills, he was quite dissatisfied. What was going on now? It had only been 3 days, why did it seem like a different person? Yes. This subordinate understands. No matter what, this had reduced the pressure on him by quite a bit. Did anything happen in the past 2 days? Zhou Fu asked casually. Huang Feng hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, something did happen. It's like this, the powder music shop opened for business last month, and the business is the best in our Ning and East City. It's not an exaggeration to say that we're making a lot of money every day. The so-called powder music pavilion was the construction site that was previously built. However, it's precisely because the business is good that someone has set their eyes on it. Zhou Fu's eyes narrowed slightly. This was interesting. Now, in Ning, an East City, there was actually someone who wanted to stretch their hands out in front of him, Zhou Fu. Interesting. Zhou Fu smiled and asked, who is it? Ho family. Ning, an East City, is a human trafficking business. They also operate many brothels, and gambling dens. Chapter 245. A few days ago, the second young master of the Ho clan, Ho Yong, found me. He directly said that the Ho clan had taken a liking to the powder music workshop and asked you to hand it over in 10 days. The one who spoke was Jin Peng. He lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhou Fu's face. Anyone who heard such arrogant words would be infuriated. He. After a moment of silence, Zhou Fu let out a low laugh. The gloomy voice scared Huang Feng and the other two to the point that they broke out in a cold sweat. 10 days later. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a cold light. How many people are there in the Ho clan? Sir, we have already found out that there is 1 person in the Exuvia realm and 6 in the blood-changing realm. Moreover, these people are all monks. Huang Feng said. Monk? Zhou Fu narrowed his eyes. Great Buddha Temple? Great Buddha Temple. The world's famous Great Temple. Huang Feng was stunned for a moment and quickly shook his head. No. Why would the Great Buddha Temple's eminent monks come to Ning and East City? Even if they came, they would go to the central city. How are they compared to the Great Buddha Temple's power? Zhou Fu asked again. Of course it can't be compared to the Great Buddha Temple. Huang Feng explained. Those monks are from the Xingfu Temple, just an ordinary Buddhist temple. Zhou Fu heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't the kind with a huge background, it was fine. If it was really a Great Buddha Temple level temple, he wouldn't have to wait for 10 days. He could just send it over now. It would save him the trouble. According to what that Ho Yong said, a day had already passed. In other words, after 9 days, the other party would come knocking on his door. But why was it 9 days later? Could it be that they still had enough manpower? Alright, I got it. In the next few days, as long as there are blood yang pills, send them to me. Huang Feng. Why did it change again after just a few sentences? Yes. Zhou Fu waved his hand and said, Okay, everything is as usual. If there is nothing else, you can go back. Looking at the 3 people who stood up, Zhou Fu said, If that Ho guy takes things too hard and tries to cause trouble again, cripple him. If the Ho clan makes any moves, inform me. Yes, we understand. After the 3 of them left, Zhou Fu's face instantly turned cold. He stretched out his hand, and a scarlet inner strength condensed into a ribbon that kept spinning around his arm. 10 days. Staring at the ribbons, Zhou Fu muttered to himself, You need time, but so do I. He stood up and walked back to the training room. After breaking through today, he still hadn't started cultivating. In the training room, Zhou Fu sat down cross-legged as waves of energy rippled out from his body. Time passed quickly during cultivation. By the time Zhou Fu felt that his body had reached the limit of cultivation, 6 hours had already passed. After leveling up, even the cultivation time has increased? The new discovery made Zhou Fu very happy. The longer the cultivation time, the more experience points he would gain. This was a good thing. Calling out the status panel, Zhou Fu's eyes were filled with joy. After leveling up, the experience points column had been cleared. And now it was already at 30% progress. Unfortunately, the level of the Wisdom King scripture still can't be leveled up. Zhou Fu was a little disappointed. Since there was no hope of leveling up, he returned to his room to rest. The next day, in the training room, Zhou Fu woke up from his cultivation and let out a long breath. The golden light in his eyes slowly faded away. Not bad, I can level up today. On the support panel, behind the level of the Wisdom King scripture, the plus sign that represented leveling up lit up. He could level up now. Level up! Ding! Martial arts level successfully leveled up. Invisible gusts of wind formed around Zhou Fu's body and spun. He, who was originally sitting cross-legged, was pulled up by an invisible force. He sat cross-legged in the air and hovered half a meter above the ground. A golden light lit up behind Zhou Fu's head. A grand and solemn aura rushed out of his body. In a split second, everyone in the Zhou residence felt their hearts sink as if something heavy was pressing down on them. What's going on? The blood transformation realm guard in charge of guarding the dungeon held the hilt of his sword and looked around in panic. I don't know. My heart is beating very fast. I'm a little scared. The other guard, who was also in the blood transformation realm, also spoke. The 2 of them looked at each other and realized that beads of sweat had appeared on each other's foreheads. At this moment, Zhou Fu felt very strange. He saw his own body and everything in the room. This is an out-of-body experience? Zhou Fu curiously looked at his body that was floating in the air with closed eyes. He felt very curious. Then he looked down at himself. There was nothing, only a ball of void. TSK, interesting. Raising his head, his heart stirred. He looked up and instantly reached the roof. Before Zhou Fu could continue admiring the scenery, a gust of wind blew over. A feeling of impending doom surged up. He quickly sank into the room and returned to his body. Zhou Fu, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. A look of lingering fear appeared on his face. What was that just now? He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and drank 2 cups of water before stabilizing his mind. Bang, bang, bang! There was a knock on the door. Zhou Fu raised his head. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly saw the person outside the door. It was the guard he arranged in the dungeon. Come in. The door opened and the person who came in was indeed the person he saw just now. This subordinate pays his respects to Sir. The guard bowed and said in a deep voice, Sir, there was a very powerful aura that descended on the residence just now. Everyone felt it. Zhou Fu was stunned. Powerful aura? Why didn't he feel it? Could it be that it was caused by his breakthrough? I understand. Zhou Fu nodded and didn't explain anything. Tell the people in the residence not to panic. These words stunned the guard. Then, he seemed to have guessed something. A look of understanding flashed across his eyes. After saying yes, he left the room. How was it? What did Sir say? As soon as he returned to the dungeon, another guard came up to him curiously. He. The guard who went to report to Zhou Fu laughed. What are you laughing at? The person who asked the question was unhappy. It was fine if he didn't answer the question, but why did he laugh foolishly? That's an expert that our sir invited. Expert? What does he look like? I don't know, I didn't see him. Then what the hell are you talking about? A pair of eyes rolled over. Why don't you say that our sir's cultivation was successful and his aura erupted? How is that possible? The guard who explained was unhappy. How is it impossible? These two guards usually liked to brag and bicker with each other. Now that something unexpected had happened, they could still calm down after arguing with each other for a while. Although our sir is a genius, he is still in the blood-changing realm. That aura just now, how can it be released at this realm? Use your brain filled with water to think about it. Bastard, you dare to say that my brain is filled with water. Die for me. In the training room. This time, I used 40% of my experience points to level up. It's okay, I can accept it. Zhou Fu turned his gaze to the cultivation method column. The level of the Scripture of the Wise King had already reached level 8, one level away from the maximum level. If the experience points needed to level up didn't change, then he would be able to reach the maximum level tomorrow. It's a pity that after this level up, the attributes of the cultivation method didn't change much. I just feel that the Dharma in my sea of consciousness has become more condensed. There was also that out-of-body feeling just now, as well as the ability to see people through the door. This Scripture of the Wise King is really magical. It seems that there is still a lot of potential. Today's 6 hours of cultivation had ended. Zhou Fu washed up briefly and had a meal. Once again, he returned to the training room. Although he couldn't cultivate anymore, he wanted to properly feel the changes brought about by this level up. When he was focused on something, time would pass very quickly. Zhou Fu woke up from his meditation. He shook his groggy head and realized that the sky outside the window was already completely dark. Time passes really quickly. Just nice, I've exhausted a lot of my energy. I'll take a rest first. The third day. After 6 hours of cultivation, together with the remaining 20% experience points from yesterday, he had accumulated another 50%. The plus sign behind the Scripture of the Wise King lit up again. Level up. Ding. Martial arts level successfully leveled up. Following the notification from the support system, a feeling of enlightenment surfaced in his mind. At the same time, Zhou Fu's mind was suddenly filled with Buddhist light. The golden light was dense and gradually turned white. This feeling, a relaxed and joyful feeling, emerged from the bottom of his heart. This feeling gradually grew and spread throughout Zhou Fu's body. So comfortable. It was as if he was a pedestrian walking with a heavy load. When he was exhausted, he suddenly felt as if he was about to float. Is this the great joy that Buddhists talk about? After waking up, Zhou Fu thought for a while and had some guesses about the special feeling he had just felt. You don't say. He recalled for a while, and a look of yearning appeared on his face. That feeling was really good. Came from the soul. He shook his head and dispelled the yearning feeling in his heart. Although he was cultivating Buddhist techniques, it didn't mean that he wanted to convert. He called out the support system interface. The experience points column had already returned to 0. The level up this time was 10% higher than the previous time. A total of 50% experience points were used. The attributes of the technique this time have changed a bit. In the technique column, The description of the Scripture of the Wise King had undergone a huge change. Scripture of the Wise King, level complete, realm, beginner, characteristics. Golden body, Dharma, demon subduing, wisdom, Dharma blessing. The original Akalanatha Dharma had been replaced by Dharma. And the Akalanatha physique had been replaced by golden body. The wisdom was still there. There was another Dharma blessing. Zhou Fu was a little confused about the new attribute. What is this? Is it for practicing? Chapter 246. Sigh, this support is good in every way. It's just that it doesn't have a manual for the characteristics of the skill. I have to figure it out myself every time. Zhou Fu's face was filled with helplessness. Having a cheat on him was great, but it wasn't as good as it should have been. It was always lacking that little bit. The more he experienced this feeling, the more vexed he felt. When this thing is more mature, I'll create a manual for it. After grumbling for a while, Zhou Fu started to figure it out. A characteristic that only appeared after the skill was maxed out was definitely not an ordinary thing. It had to be very powerful. Therefore, if he spent time on this, he would definitely reap considerable rewards. Buddhist blessing. Could it be that it has a restraining effect on the demon sect, demons, and Ein-type existences? But it doesn't feel like it. After pondering for a while, Zhou Fu placed his attention on the Great Sun True Qi. The Great Sun True Qi is also an authentic Buddhist skill. If I add a Buddhist buff to this thing, what kind of effect would it have? Let's try it out. The Great Sun True Qi was activated. The Dharma form in his sea of consciousness also released a platinum Buddhist light. This feeling, Zhou Fu took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with unconcealable joy. At this moment, on the attribute board, the description of the Great Sun True Qi. Great Sun True Intent, Buddhist blessing, activated. With a flip of his palm, a palm print was formed on the solid ground. There was even a rising heat inside. There was no charred ground, nor was there any fire. This is the true will of the Great Sun? Zhou Fu's brows furrowed as a look of disappointment crossed his face. He had given it such a powerful name. Why was the effect so lame? Wasn't it called the Great Sun True Intent? Could the high temperature be the so-called true intent? No. The Great Sun True Scripture was the specialty of a top Buddhist sect like the Great Buddhist Temple. If it was only at this level, how could it occupy such an important position? Could it be that the way I used it was wrong? Or perhaps, the skill was incomplete? With the appearance of a new problem, Zhou Fu's happy mood disappeared in the blink of an eye. He couldn't figure it out. Even after many experiments, he still couldn't find a clue. Forget it, let's put this problem aside for now. Currently, there were still 3 main cultivation techniques that had yet to be upgraded. First, I need to max out the adamantine battle body. Next is the spring breeze and rain body nourishing art, which increases my recovery ability. After a slight calculation, Zhou Fu's mood became even worse. At this moment, there were still 6 days before the date set by the Ho clan. It was simply not enough for all of his martial arts to reach the maximum level. There was no need to even talk about strengthening one's characteristics. No, I can't use all the experience points to improve my martial art. At the very least, I have to leave enough experience points to improve my realm, just in case. However, what kind of realm was Exuvia? What's the difference between this and blood exchange? With all sorts of questions in mind, he walked out of the training room. "Young master, you've finished cultivating," Yuzhu shouted in surprise. Zhou Fu, who was still thinking about the problem, turned his head when he heard the voice. At this moment, he looked a little confused, and a lot of his energy was still thinking about the problem. "Oh, I finished my cultivation today, so I came out to get some fresh air." Yuzhu pointed to the side and said, "What a coincidence, that was just done 2 days ago. It's just right for young master to rest. Take a look, are you satisfied?" Zhou Fu followed Yuzhu's guidance and looked over. The scene at the side made him stunned for a moment. If I didn't remember wrongly, that side was a wall previously, right? When did an additional door appear? You did it? Yuju smiled and did not explain. She brought Zhou Fu into the door. Crossing the courtyard door, a warm wind blew over. In the courtyard, there was a pond, a rockery, and a waterside pavilion. The most important thing was that the plants here were actually all overflowing with greenery. There was not the slightest trace of winter bleakness. Yuju smiled and explained, "Young master, there's a hot spring in this courtyard." Huang Feng arranged a large number of people and spent more than 3 months before the spring water was let over. Yuju pointed to the 2-story pavilion, not far away. Those things were rushed out by Huang Feng after spending a lot of effort. "Young master, why don't you go up and take a look?" Although Zhou Fu knew that he was very rich, the situation before his eyes still made him secretly shocked in his heart. Could it be that this was the correct way to spend money? This is King life. In the pavilion next to the artificial lake, the entire room was carpeted with good quality. There were all kinds of furniture here. Although Zhou Fu could not tell what material it was made of at first glance, he could tell that it was not ordinary. On a carpet that was said to be made of gold silk cashmere, there was a recliner made of dark redwood. Zhou Fu was lying on the recliner. He turned his face sideways and looked through the window, taking in the scenery in the courtyard into his eyes. "Young master, are you satisfied?" Yuju's face was brimming with a happy smile. She was also shocked when she came to this courtyard for the first time. "Satisfied, of course I'm satisfied." Zhou Fu felt that his body was as light as a feather at this moment. "If you're not satisfied with this, then I don't know what true satisfaction is. It's best that you're satisfied, young master. In that case you should rest first. I'll bring you the food now." He did not know if it was the effect of the beautiful scenery or the money. Previously, Zhou Fu still had a lot of pressure in his heart. But now, his heart was much clearer. Suddenly, Zhou Fu let out a mocking laugh. No one knew who he was laughing at. After eating, they took a simple rest for a while. Zhou Fu left the courtyard and returned to the training room. "Although I can't cultivate my inner strength, I still have to practice martial arts moves every day. By the way, I haven't practiced saber techniques in a long time, right?" He looked at the long saber hanging on the wall of the training room. It was taken out from the arsenal at home by Zhou Ducai the last time he went back. The extraordinary expert who followed the two of them in at that time was very shocked when he saw this saber. He took the long saber from the wall and unsheathed it with a whoosh. "Saber techniques," Zhou Fu muttered. Then, he thought of Xingang. "It seems that he hasn't fulfilled his promise to send me saber techniques, right? Should I go and remind him?" At this moment, a strange feeling welled up in his heart. He turned around and looked in the direction of the door. "Since you're here, why don't you come in?" Zhou Fu looked at the door and said. With a creak, the door opened. "Not bad. You noticed me as soon as I arrived at the door. Are you really in the blood reformation realm?" Xingang walked in with a surprised expression and sized up Zhou Fu. It seemed that he wanted to see something from Zhou Fu. Wow, what a strong young inner strength! As expected of the top cultivation technique of the Defo Temple. Third brother really put in a lot of effort. Xingang shook his head and sighed. At the same time, he was secretly shocked. He remembered that last time in the forest, he fought with Zhou Fu. At that time, Zhou Fu didn't have such a strong aura. It hadn't been long, but the other party seemed to have made great achievements in this cultivation technique. Was this what a genius was like? "Congratulations, you seem to have broken through again. You're too polite. It's all because of hard work and perseverance that I can achieve what I have today. Sect Master, this way please." There was no furniture in the training room. There was only a small table against the wall with 2 chairs on each side. That was all. After leading Xingang to a chair and sitting down, Zhou Fu poured tea for the two of them and asked, I wonder why the sect master is here today? Xinggang sized up the room, retracted his gaze, and gave Zhou Fu a deep look. At this time, a question popped up in his mind and he couldn't help but blurt out, "Zhou Fu, what's the purpose of your cultivation?" Purpose? Zhou Fu was stunned by the sudden question, and it was a slightly strange one at that. What did he mean? There was nothing wrong with Xinggang, right? He came to find me in broad daylight just to ask this. He shook his head inwardly, indicating that he couldn't understand. Zhou Fu thought for a moment and said helplessly, "Back then, I started cultivating because I wanted to have a stronger body. Later, I had a younger cousin who wanted to climb up the social ladder and attacked me. At that time, I was cultivating to save my life. Later, after seeing what was suppressed under Heong City, I worked even harder to cultivate. After that, I came to Ning and East City. Originally, I came to seek refuge with the Red Sea Gang. But that group of bastards took my family's business and wanted to harm me. Oh, now that I think about it, I was actually trying to save my life all this time." After recalling, Zhou Fu's face showed a pained expression. "So I was so powerful, but I was forced to do it." Not only Zhou Fu, even Xinggang, who was sitting opposite Zhou Fu and asked this question, was also stunned. What a joke! Zhou Fu, who had stirred up a storm in Ning Anong City, had actually come to this point in order to save his life. If this story were to spread, even ghosts wouldn't believe it. This is really... All of a sudden, Xinggang did not know what words he should use to describe his feelings. He was at a loss for words. It's just fate playing with people. The two of them were silent for a while. Zhou Fu opened his mouth and summarized what he said above. What a good fate playing with people. Xinggang shook his head. Looking at Zhou Fu with a smile on his face and a teacup in his hand, he just looked at him without saying a word. Xinggang reacted. He was waiting for him to speak. "So," he said, "I came here for two things." He took out 2 books from his arms and put them on the table. "These are 2 saber techniques, both of them are peak earth stage. I think, with your current strength, cultivating martial arts below this level won't have any effect. 7 Killing Saber, Dazzling Sun / Xinggang pointed at the 7 Killing Saber and said, "The so-called peak earth stage martial arts have already touched the edge of the concept. The difference between heaven stage martial arts and other martial arts is the true meaning of the martial art. This saber technique focuses the most on killing intent. Unfortunately, this saber technique originally had the potential to become a heaven stage martial art. Unfortunately, the person who created this saber technique had a problem with his brain and was besieged to death." Chapter 247. Xinggang shrugged and said, "You are cultivating a Buddhist technique, so it has a restraining effect on martial arts that affect one's mind. Of course, even though you can activate this saber technique, there are disadvantages as well. Restraining the killing intent will cause the effect of the saber technique to decrease. I estimated that you can probably unleash the effect of an earth-level inferior grade saber technique. However, the most important thing about this is the true intent of martial arts. It would be best if you could comprehend it and integrate it into your saber technique." He pointed to the other book, Bright Sun / and said, "Speaking of true intent, I have to mention this saber technique. It is also an earth-level peak-grade saber technique, and it is quite compatible with the Great Sun True Energy. It might even allow you to comprehend the true core of the Great Buddhist Temple, the true intent of the Great Sun. That plaything, TSK, incredible! That is even better than the Xing family's true intent." Xinggang shook his head with a rueful expression. Zhou Fu, who was listening attentively, tried his best not to reveal a strange expression, but his heart was in turmoil. True core? True intent of the Great Sun? What does that mean? Zhou Fu asked curiously as he tried to calm himself down. Xinggang was stunned, and he looked at Zhou Fu strangely. It was ridiculous that he could achieve what he had today with such poor knowledge of martial arts. Was he really being fed by the heavens? There was envy and a sigh in his eyes. In short, it was rather complicated. Let's put it this way. I said just now that the difference between a heaven-level technique and other techniques is the true intent of the martial art. As long as it has the true intent of the martial arts, it is a heaven-level technique. Otherwise, it is not. And the true intent of the martial arts is not simply limited to a certain technique. However, there is a degree of compatibility for the technique. For example, if you comprehend the true intent of the saber technique, you can activate the true intent of the martial arts when you use other weapons. However, the effect is not as good as when you use a saber. You understand this, right? Zhou Fu nodded to show that he understood. As for the true intent of the Great Sun, it is a rather terrifying true intent of the martial art. According to the clan's elders, it was like the descent of the Great Sun, burning everything. Although it's exaggerated quite a bit, it can still reflect the terrifying side of it. What's even more terrifying is that the true will of the Great Sun is compatible with almost all cultivation techniques. Oh, except for those from the demonic sections. Xing Gang explained, "Don't look at me, I have never met a Buddhist expert who has cultivated the true meaning of the Great Sun. Those people don't come out often." He changed the topic and said, "That monk you met last time, I reckon he has already touched the threshold of the true meaning of the Great Sun. Who knows, the next time you meet him, you might be able to experience it." That monk? Zhou Fu nodded and picked up the dazzling sun slash. The creator of this saber art had a good friend from the great Buddhist temple. It was said that when he created this saber technique, he even consulted the true meaning of the Great Sun. Therefore, whether or not you can gain anything will depend on yourself. Why? Zhou Fu asked. What do you mean why? Xing Gang asked in surprise. Zhou Fu pointed to the 2 secret manuals on the table and said, "These things are definitely not from the sect, right? Especially this dazzling sun slash. So, I want to know why." Xing Gang's face revealed a smile and said, "It's good that you understand. As for why, it's also one of the reasons why I came to find you today. The matter that my third brother told you to do, did he ask you to make a move at some point?" "Yes." "Then do you know what you will lose?" "Lose?" Zhou Fu frowned, thought for a moment, and then said, "Even if I have to make a move, it will be under the circumstances where I can do it. I won't go to the extent of courting death." "No, no, no." Xing Gang shook his head repeatedly and said, "That's not what I meant." However, he did not explain clearly. Instead, he changed the topic and said, "Recently, a lot of people have come to Ning'an. You know about this, right?" Seeing Zhou Fu nod, he continued, "You probably don't know why they're here, right?" "Hee, third brother didn't tell you, did he?" Hearing the other party say this, Zhou Fu was even more confused. What did he mean? Why was it related to Xing Feng again? Since third brother didn't tell you, then as the leader, I naturally have to talk to my vice leader. At this moment, Xing Gang's face revealed a proud smile, and there was even a hint of a mischievous smile. In the northeast of Ning and East City, at the intersection of 3 rivers, there is a secret realm. There are a lot of good things inside, and of course there are also some foreign races. Every 3 years, the secret realm will open once. At that time, the government will issue a bounty and gather the idle people in the martial arts world to go in and deal with those foreign races. Also, buy some of the things inside. Secret realm? Buy? It's not easy to explain the secret realm. Just treat it as a hidden place that can only be entered once every 3 years. As for the purchase, it's the same as the bounty of an assassin organization. Of course, if you want to keep it for yourself, no one will stop you. But basically, no one will do that. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed and he asked, "Why?" Why? Most of the people who accept the bounty are idle cultivators. They are very lacking in cultivation resources, and the things inside are mostly raw materials that they can't use. The government will use some finished cultivation resources to exchange for those raw materials. Why don't you think others are willing? Zhou Fu nodded. That was indeed the case. His influence was not small now, but it was still very difficult for him to refine the blood yang pill. Moreover, those people who ran around the martial arts world did not have a stable way to obtain resources. After thinking it through, Zhou Fu was even more confused. What did these things have to do with his promise to Xing Feng? He could not help but ask, that's it? Of course not. Seeing Zhou Fu's confused look, Xing Feng seemed to enjoy it very much. The aristocratic families will cooperate with those who perform well to do something else. Third brother's request to you is for that matter. What is it? A red glow flashed across Xing Gang's eyes as he said, the Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm. Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows and said, I don't understand. Xing Gang's expression froze. He suddenly felt that he had been blinded by his emotions. You? All right. The so-called Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm is a group of people going to another mystic realm to fight for the Foundation Establishment techniques and elixirs. Zhou Fu asked in surprise, these things sound very ordinary. Doesn't the Xing family have them? Of course not. Xing Gang shook his head. These things are different. It's not that the Xing family has not obtained them before, but they can't be passed down. It's the same for others. However, they do have top powers like the Great Buddhist Temple and Shangqing Hall. But so what? Ordinary people can't obtain them. Therefore, we can only snatch them. Xing Gang's face revealed a bitter smile. Shangqing Hall? That was the name of a new power. However, this had nothing to do with Zhou Fu. Those real big powers were too far away from him. What's the use of Foundation Establishment? Xing Gang sighed. He composed himself and said, this matter concerns the future of transcending mortality. It's useless to tell you. As for Foundation Establishment, it's used to temper the body. If you want to break through transcending mortality, you must have a Foundation Establishment technique. Otherwise, everything will be in vain. He looked at Zhou Fu and said, Third brother will probably ask you to go to Ning and Mystic Realm to increase your strength before bringing you to the Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm. He wants you to help him fight for the Foundation Establishment technique at the crucial moment. You must know that a Foundation Establishment technique can only be cultivated by one person. Seeing that Zhou Fu wanted to speak, Xing Gang hurriedly said, Don't think about secretly cultivating someone else's Foundation Establishment technique. It's not written in a book. The person who obtains it can only cultivate it by himself. He can't talk about it. Zhou Fu asked, Is there only one technique in each mystic realm? No, there's more than one. However, you don't think you can snatch it, do you? Xing Gang said, If you lose this opportunity, you'll have to wait for 5 years. The Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm opens once every 5 years. Zhou Fu fell silent. 5 years. It had only been a little more than a year since he started cultivating to the 3 realms of blood transformation. According to the progress of the support, he would not only be able to reach extraordinary level 9 in a year at most, but he would also be able to raise all his martial arts to the maximum level. What about the rest of the time? Was he really going to waste it? No. Zhou Fu suddenly remembered that he had a Foundation Establishment technique. He called out the support interface. In the secret technique column, there was a Foundation Establishment technique. Shang Yuan. His little teacher gave it to him privately before leaving. In that case, it seemed that he didn't need it anymore. With this guarantee, the depression in Zhou Fu's heart was swept away. He looked at Xing Gang with a gloomy expression. Gang leader Xing, you said so much. Do you have other plans? Xing Gang chuckled. Of course. When the time comes, I hope you won't make a move. However, to his surprise, Zhou Fu shook his head and refused. He said, No. I already promised Xing Feng that I would make a move once. You already know the ins and outs, and you still want to make a move? Xingang didn't understand. That person was going to waste 5 years of your time. That was 5 years. Many things could happen in that time. Are you crazy? Or did you not understand what I said just now? I understand very well. But gang leader Xing, since I promised, I naturally have to do it. This is a person's bottom line. As the reward for my help, Xing Feng has already paid. I naturally can't break my promise. When doing things, you have to follow the rules. Otherwise, the troublesome matter won't be solved in 5 years. Hey, you're a man of your word. Fine. Since it's like this, I won't say any more. The thing I promised you last time, I've already delivered it to you. We're even now. After saying this, Xingang got up and was about to leave. At this time, Zhou Fu opened his mouth and stopped him. Gang leader Xing, I still have something to ask of you. Oh. Xing Feng's eyes moved and sat down again. Gang leader Xing, I want information about the Exuvia realm. What? Exuvia? Xingang suddenly opened his eyes wide. Chapter 248. You're at the peak of the blood-changing realm? Zhou Fu nodded. There was nothing to hide about this. Now that Ning and City's secret realm was about to open, he had to enter for the sake of cultivation resources. According to Xinggang's analysis, there would definitely be a tough battle inside. Hence, no matter how hard he tried to hide it, he still had to reveal it. Whoosh! Xingang leaned back in his chair and calmed down for a while. Amazing, amazing! How long has it been, and you're about to break through to the extraordinary state? As though thinking of something, Xinggang's eyes lit up and he asked, Is your cultivation speed related to the Body Refinement Hall's cultivation technique? Looking at Xinggang's expression, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. There are some. He wasn't lying. After all, the absorption ability of the 3 wheels origin transformation divine art was still very strong. It saved him a lot of time to absorb and convert. Exchange. Xingang licked his lips. Don't you want information about the mortal evolution state? I can give you information about the first 3 levels in exchange for the secret to speed up your cultivation. Remember, it's not just the cultivation technique, but also the information to speed up your cultivation. The first 3 levels. Zhou Fu was a little dissatisfied. According to his cultivation speed, the first 3 levels were too little. Seeing Zhou Fu's dissatisfied expression, Xingang said, It's enough. The information I'm giving you isn't something you can find on the market. It's the conclusion of generations of the Xing family. Those outside can't compare to our family. As expected, these families had special information in their hand. Technology lockdown. Seeing that Zhou Fu didn't say anything, Xingang continued, Let me tell you, you've already profited greatly from this deal. You have to know that my aptitude is also superior. Even without these things, when the Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm opens, I can still reach extraordinary level 3 and above. As for you, it's hard to say. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. Xingang continued, The Mystic Realm is about to open, so there will naturally be a gathering. Even though we'll be able to obtain information about the Exuvia realm at that gathering, it's definitely not as safe and comprehensive as the Xing families. Cultivation is a very rigorous thing. Although Zhou Fu knew that the other party was trying to lower the price, just like Xingang said, he needed detailed information. All right, I'll change it. A smile appeared on Xinggang's face. All right, I'll look for you again tomorrow. Bye. After the other party left, Zhou Fu closed his eyes and digested the information he had just received. True intent of the Great Sun. Foundation Establishment Arcane Effort. These 2 words kept circling in Zhou Fu's mind as he calculated the order of his next upgrade. If it's a Foundation Establishment cultivation method, I'm not sure how others use it. According to my previous experience, this thing consumes a lot of energy, so I have to prepare enough pills. Other than that, I also need to raise the level of the Spring Breeze and Rain Body Nourishing Art to the max. No. If I do that, there might be problems at the Ho family's side. Originally, Zhou Fu planned to raise the level of the adamantine battle body first, but after obtaining the information about the Foundation establishment cultivation method today, he decided to temper his body first. As for the other cultivation methods, their priority had to be lowered. But when he thought of the Ho family, his plans still had to change. Unfortunately, the time is too short. In a few more days, those bastards will come knocking on my door. Thinking up to here, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with dense killing intent. This was going to interrupt his cultivation. Ho family! Damn it, I'm going to exterminate you! After choosing the brilliant sun / Zhou Fu put away the other 7 killing saber. He took down the family heirloom saber that was placed on a shelf. TSK, I've already forgotten your name. No, I don't think I've given you a name. Zhou Fu thought for a while. Giving a name, this sort of thing, was very brain-burning. Suddenly, his gaze swept to the saber manual in his hand. All right. From now on, you'll be called Brilliant Sunday. Zhou Fu's inner strength was the great Sun True Qi, and with the support of the Ming King scripture, he activated the great Sun True meaning. Naming this saber Brilliant Sun did not seem to be a problem. Ding! Cultivation method successfully loaded. Zhou Fu opened the auxiliary interface. Brilliant Sun / Level 06 Characteristic High Temperature. Closing the auxiliary interface, Zhou Fu began to familiarize himself with the moves in the cultivation method. In the winter afternoon, in the courtyard in front of the training room, the saber light flashed. As the saber technique unfolded, the saber controlling technique that he used to use, the armor-breaking saber, resurfaced in his mind. For a time, the proficiency level increased rapidly. After the 10th time of practicing the saber technique, a prompt suddenly sounded. Ding! Brilliant Sun / level increased. The sudden change stunned Zhou Fu for a moment. He opened the auxiliary interface, and the level of the Brilliant Sun / in the cultivation method column had indeed become 16. This is a bit interesting. In other words, I can increase the level of the martial arts without the auxiliary interface. Staring at the page for a while, Zhou Fu sighed. Unfortunately, the auxiliary interface does not have a specific proficiency level. If I can increase the proficiency level through cultivation, and then increase the level of the martial arts, then it will be a lot easier. Ding! Insufficient energy, activation of the proficiency function failed. Zhou Fu opened his mouth wide. This thing actually responded to him. He quickly asked, "What kind of energy do I need? How much?" However, this time there was no response for a long time. Zhou Fu did not give up and asked a few more questions. Still not getting a response, he could only reluctantly give up. Let me think. If it's energy, it should be the so-called active energy. In other words, if I want more comprehensive auxiliary functions, I can only go and hunt those foreign races. I have no choice but to go to the secret realm this time. The sun set very early in the winter, and the sky was already dark. I'm not going to practice today. Rest up, I still have to earn experience tomorrow. After eating, he returned to his room to rest. At midnight, Zhou Fu, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly opened his eyes. He got up and slowly put on his clothes. Walking to the front door, he opened it. Winter night, light wind. Zhou Fu said to the empty yard, "Disturbing my sleep in the middle of the night, if you don't say something, I still have an empty room in the dungeon." As his voice fell, the sound of clothes fluttering in the air was heard. In the night sky, a black figure landed. Can't even remove the sound of movement, this person is very ordinary. Zhou Fu thought. The black figure landed. From the figure, it was a woman. A familiar voice sounded, "Young Master Zhou, long time no see." Zhou Fu frowned. After thinking for a while, a figure appeared in his mind. "You er? Ha 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 ha, it is me." The black figure walked closer and took off the veil on her face. It was He from Haeong City. "What are you doing here?" Facing Zhou Fu's impolite question, He did not mind. She smiled and said, "Young Master Zhou, aren't you going to invite me in? No matter what, we're old friends. Also, in my body there is something that young Master Zhou left behind." Hearing this, Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows and moved aside, allowing her to enter the room. After entering the room, He kept looking around. Young Master Zhou's room is really simple. Zhou Fu did not reply. He closed the door and walked to the chair and sat down. Looking at her eyes, he asked, "Tell me, what is it that you want in the middle of the night?" "Young Master Zhou," He moaned. Without waiting for her to continue, a huge sense of danger rose in her heart, making her swallow the rest of her words. Zhou Fu's expression was indifferent. His eyes flashed with a white gold light. "Ha ha ha!" He laughed awkwardly. Then she straightened her face and said, "I have something to discuss with you. Speak." Facing Zhou Fu's indifferent expression, He was indignant, but her instincts told her not to be presumptuous. "I heard that a few days ago, the whole family came to you and wanted to take your property?" "Yes, that's true. Why? Do you want to get involved?" He smiled and said, "Of course." "Oh." Zhou Fu was surprised. "But I'm not from the Ho family. I'm here on behalf of the Wonderful Desire sect to cooperate with you." "The Wonderful Desire sect? How do you want to cooperate?" Hearing Zhou Fu's question, He eyes flashed. Even her tone was filled with joy. Zhou Fu said coldly, "This is the last time. Put away your charm." "It's a misunderstanding," He quickly said. "I couldn't help it. I hope you won't take it to heart." After apologizing, she quickly changed the topic and said, "The Ho family is backed by an extraordinary expert from the Xingfu Temple. The Wonderful Desire sect will also send an extraordinary expert to fight them. The Ho family will be dealt with by you. Once the matter is settled, the Wonderful Desire sect wants 70% of the profits from the powder music workshop." 70%? Zhou Fu laughed. "Yes, 70%. He didn't think much of it and continued, "Moreover, if the Wonderful Desire sect needs help in Ning, an East city, you'll have to help. Of course, we'll also compensate you." Zhou Fu sneered and said, "Do you think I'm a beggar? No matter what, I still have the giant whale behind me." "Young Master, your surname isn't Xing. That giant whale is the property of the Xing family. It won't help you with everything." Zhou Fu shook his head and said, "No matter what, I'm still the deputy leader of the giant whale." Of course, He knew about this. According to her intelligence, the reason why Zhou Fu could become the deputy leader was because the sect wanted to keep another deputy leader in check. That was why Zhou Fu took the position. The smile on He face disappeared. She looked straight at Zhou Fu and said slowly, "Young Master, are you rejecting the Wonderful Desire sect's good intentions?" "Good intentions?" Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed. He waved his hand and said, "You can understand it that way. All right, it's late. You should go back." He face was instantly covered with a layer of frost. A cold light appeared in her eyes. "Young Master Zhou, aren't you afraid that you'll have another enemy?" Before she could finish her sentence, a large hand enlarged in front of her eyes. At the same time, she felt her eyes suddenly brighten, as if she was under the scorching sun. She felt pain all over her body, as if she was being burned by flames. He even forgot to dodge the attack. Smack! Zhou Fu grabbed He head and lifted her up with one hand. "Remember next time, if you want to threaten others, you must at least have the strength." Chapter 249. Bang! Bang! The window of the room suddenly exploded. Two figures rushed in. "Let go of my miss!" The two people who rushed in roared and attacked at the same time. The energy in the room was surging. Two white jade-like palms struck out. Circles of light cyan energy swirled around and hit Zhou Fu directly. Zhou Fu grabbed He with one hand and activated his internal force to disperse the internal force in her body. At the same time, The overbearing Grand Sun genuine qi made her muscles and bones extremely sore. For a moment she lost the ability to move like a puppet and could only let Zhou Fu grab her. At this moment, the attack had arrived in front of him. The strong wind hit him. Zhou Fu's pupils contracted. Pale golden light flowed all over his body. He raised his right arm and straightened his palm like a knife. Standing still, his right palm was like a long knife and chopped out horizontally. He had been practicing the brilliant sun slash the whole afternoon. With this strike, he had used the corresponding move. At the same time, the true meaning of Grand Sun was activated. The two people who attacked Zhou Fu dared to be arrogant when they saw him. Not only did he fight against two people alone, but he also dared to fight against them with one hand. The two people were so angry that their blood was surging in their chests and their eyes were bloodshot. Bastard! How dare you look down on me? What an arrogant boy! Go to hell! The two people shouted angrily and increased the strength of their palms. They looked like they were going to kill Zhou Fu directly. The next moment, the two people's palms hit Zhou Fu's palm knife. Bang! The three palms collided together. The energy burst out. The two people who attacked Zhou Fu changed their faces greatly. What is this? How could it be? A tyrannical force flowed through their arms. The energy around their arms collapsed in an instant. Even the internal force in the meridians of their arms was shaken off. Then, a strong burning pain came. The force came quickly and the pain made the two people absent-minded for a moment. The internal force that they had refined for decades could not resist that kind of force at all. It collapsed at the touch. Their eyes were wide open and full of horror. In the next moment, that power exploded within their bodies. The two of them flew out of the window as if they had been hit by a speeding car and landed in the courtyard. At this moment, the guards in the mansion had also rushed over. For a moment, the courtyard was brightly lit. Inside the room, Zhou Fu's face was full of astonishment. He looked at his hands for a while, then looked at the broken window for a while. He was completely at a loss. What's going on? That was caused by me? Something's not right. Judging from the momentum of those two people's attacks, they are both at the Exuvia realm. Although he knew that he could suppress those at the level 1 of Exuvia and even those at the level 2 of Exuvia. However, in the current situation where he had to face two extraordinary experts at the same time and was defeated by him, he was at a loss. It turned out that the other party was very weak and I was very strong. The noise in the courtyard grew louder and louder, awakening Zhou Fu from his confusion. Carrying He-Yu-Er, he flashed into the courtyard. When the guards saw Zhou Fu come out, they hurriedly bowed and said, "This subordinate greets your excellency." Zhou Fu waved his hand and said to the guards, "Check if they are dead or not." The two people on the ground were no longer moving. One of the guards bent down and placed his finger on the other party's neck. In the next moment, as if he was pierced by a sharp weapon, he suddenly retracted his finger. Then, the guard kept swinging his hand as if he was scalded by the high temperature. "Your Excellency, this person's body is abnormally hot, like a red-hot soldering iron." "Soldering iron?" Zhou Fu walked over in astonishment, stretched out his hand and carefully touched it. "Your Excellency, be careful. It's fine. This is..." Zhou Fu's eyes flickered. Could this be the so-called true meaning of the Great Sun? With my current strength, I can actually defeat two extraordinary experts. This power is indeed a bit tyrannical. He said to the surrounding guards, "Leave these two people here, you guys can leave." The guards looked at each other and then answered, "Yes, sir." After the guards left, Zhou Fu released his hand. Smack! He-Yu-Er fell to the ground. At this moment, without Zhou Fu's suppression, the inner force in her body began to circulate again. She hurriedly retreated to the side. After she steadied herself, she looked at the two experts lying on the ground. At this moment, He-Yu-Er's heart was filled with horror. Her eyes were also full of fear as she looked at Zhou Fu. How long had it been? That country bumpkin from back then actually had such strength now. Young Master Zhou. Tonight it's all a misunderstanding. Zhou Fu waved his hand and said, "Take them and get out." He reached out his right hand and swept his fingers over the two people on the ground. In an instant, the scalding temperature quickly receded. He nodded and grabbed the two people. Then, she used her movement technique and disappeared into the night sky. Looking at the night sky, Zhou Fu suddenly grinned. He turned around and was about to return to his room when he stopped. The broken window and the broken door all pointed to one thing. He would not be able to sleep in there tonight. The next day, in the attic of the hot spring garden. "Young master, the window in your room has been repaired. Because of the unexpected situation last night, Zhou Fu rested here for the night. Furthermore, he had also completed his training there." "Okay, got it." Yuzhu hesitated for a moment and said, "Young master, I asked the craftsman to build a few extra windows and a door. The next time something like this happens, they can be replaced directly. It'll be very fast." After hearing this, Zhou Fu looked at Yuzhu in shock. For a moment, he did not know what to say. He was tired. "You're very considerate. This is what I should do." Yuzhu unceremoniously accepted the so-called praise. "Okay, don't be silly." Zhou Fu stood up and went to the window. "I'm going to cultivate." As his voice fell, he tiptoed on the railing, crossed the garden, and landed at the door of the cultivation room on the other side of the wall. After cultivating during the day, his experience points had accumulated to 30%. Behind the level of adamantine warbody, the plus sign that represented leveling up lit up. Level up. Ding. Adamantine warbody leveled up successfully. Current level 4. Heat flowed in his body, and the muscles all over his body quickly became more solid. At the same time, the meridians all over his body became more resilient. The width was also widened and could accommodate more inner strength. Zhou Fu looked at the status panel, and his eyes suddenly focused. "I only used 10% of my experience points." He turned to look at adamantine warbody, and saw that the plus sign behind the level was still there. In other words, he could level it up again. Level up. As the prompt sounded, adamantine warbody reached level 5, and his whole body was strengthened again. At this time, adamantine warbody was only 2 levels away from the maximum level of level 7. And there was still 5% of his experience points left. There were still 5 days until the whole family came. In the next 4 days, he could still accumulate 120% of his experience points. No, if he counted the 10th day, he could accumulate 150%. According to today's consumption, my adamantine warbody can be maxed out before the whole family comes. Moreover, I can still have enough experience points to level up. At this time, Zhou Fu's happy expression froze. The training room's door was pushed open from the outside. "What happened to make you so happy? Tell me." Xing Gang walked in as if he was entering his own room. He walked straight to the chair by the wall and sat down. His right hand reached into his chest, took out a booklet, and placed it on the table beside him. He raised his index finger and tapped on the booklet twice. "I brought the thing you wanted. How's the preparation of the thing I wanted?" The other party's arrogance made Zhou Fu very unhappy, but there was nothing he could do. He still didn't have the strength to crush Xing Gang. He suppressed the anger in his heart and walked over. He said, "I want to take a look at the thing first. After I confirm that there are no problems, I will naturally give you what you want." When he heard that Zhou Fu wanted to check the goods first, it was obvious that he didn't trust him. Xing Gang didn't care about this. He pushed the booklet towards Zhou Fu and gestured for him to take a look. Zhou Fu sat down, took the booklet, and started flipping through it. The booklet wasn't thick. It was made up of 8 pages. The Exuvia realm is mainly about opening the acupoints and then refining them. It's easy to say, but it's very difficult to do. You must know that the position of the acupoints on everyone's body is different. However, it's not completely random. They exist in the 4 limbs and 5 internal organs of the human body. There are a total of 9 acupoints, which also correspond to the 9 stages of the exuvia realm. Seeing that Zhou Fu started flipping through the booklet, Xing Gang explained to him. The booklet I brought you records the techniques to find the acupoints on the 4 limbs and the method to refine them. Zhou Fu, who was reading the book, suddenly frowned. He pressed his finger on a line of words and turned his head to ask, "The book says that the same acupoint will have different effects on different people?" "Yes." Xing Gang nodded. "So everything depends on the will of the heavens?" Xing Gang grinned. "That's right. It depends on luck. For example, the Xing acupoint is generally used to increase speed. This includes movement skills, inner strength circulation, and so on. This is the most basic effect, and also something that is widely known. However, what ordinary people don't know is that you can use inner strength to stimulate the acupoints, and then cause the acupoints to have a strange change, which can then feed back to the body. Very few of those loose cultivators know about this. Even if they know, no one will say it out." Pointing at the booklet in Zhou Fu's hands, Xing Gang said, "There are 3 methods to stimulate acupoints in this book. You can make the acupoints on your legs and right arm change. How is it? Is it worth it?" "The method to stimulate each acupoint is different?" "Of course. Otherwise, the world wouldn't be like this." Zhou Fu finished flipping through the booklet and nodded. "Good. The secret to my fast cultivation speed is one of the body tempering hall's 4 great godly techniques, the 3 wheels origin transformation divine technique." Xing Gang's eyes flashed. "I didn't expect it to be this technique." Zhou Fu didn't reply. Instead, he dictated the technique's key points. "Wait a minute." Xing Gang interrupted Zhou Fu after hearing his explanation. Seeing Zhou Fu's unhappy expression, he explained, "I don't mean anything else. I have this technique at home too, but it seems to be a little different from what you said." The Xing family actually had this technique. Zhou Fu thought for a while and said, "It's not surprising that there are some differences. I collected and pieced together this technique myself, and then deduced it according to my understanding. Compared to the original, there are naturally some differences." "You deduced it?" Xing Gang's eyes widened when he heard this. Chapter 250. "What? Can't I?" Zhou Fu asked back. He didn't care about Zhou Fu's angry tone. Sizing up Zhou Fu incessantly, he clicked his tongue in wonder and said, "Back then, I thought that you relied on your talent to cultivate to this level. I didn't expect that I was wrong. Your greatest reliance is actually luck." "What do you mean?" Xing Gang laughed. "What do I mean? Of course, I'm saying that your life is really tough. A person who doesn't even know the basics of cultivation can actually deduce a technique of the level of the 3 wheels returning origin transforming technique. How dare you? Forget about the deduction. You really dare to cultivate. Not only did you not die, you even succeeded. In this world, people with good luck really make people jealous. I hate people like you. I hate you." Seeing that Zhou Fu was a little unhappy, Xing Gang didn't continue to speak. "In that case, do you still want to listen?" Zhou Fu asked. "Yes, of course." Thus, Zhou Fu continued to explain the 3 wheels origin transformation divine art. After an hour, he stopped. "I've already explained everything about this cultivation technique." Xing Gang pondered for a while. In his mind, he compared the cultivation technique that Zhou Fu deduced with the original version. He was silent for a while. Seeing that Xing Gang was deep in thought, Zhou Fu didn't rush him. Another hour passed. Xing Gang raised his head and said, "This cultivation technique of yours is really novel. I can't believe that this is something you deduced." Zhou Fu picked up his teacup and took a sip. "Our deal is complete." Xing Gang obviously knew that serving tea meant sending off a guest. He stood up and said, In that case, I won't stay any longer. However, I found out today that there are still many opportunities for us to work together. And, looking at Zhou Fu's confused expression, Xinggang said, "You have talent, but you lack information and knowledge. I can provide you with all of these things. Moreover, the things I mentioned were things that third brother couldn't bring out, or rather, he didn't dare to bring out. How about it? Are you tempted?" Without waiting for Zhou Fu to speak, Xinggang continued, "However, now is not the time. I want to make sure that you're worth it for me to invest so much in you." It just so happened that the whole family had gathered 2 Exuvia experts, but they were both Exuvia level 1. These 2 aren't people those loose Exuvia cultivators of the pugilistic world can compare to. Finally, let me remind you, Buddhist cultivation techniques are famous for their resistance to attack. As soon as he finished speaking, Xinggang's figure flashed and turned into a scarlet shadow, disappearing from the room. "Resistant to beatings," Zhou Fu muttered, then sneered disdainfully. "Just nice. I also want to test out the true meaning of the Great Sun, and see if it's them who can resist, or me who can hit." For the next few days, Zhou Fu meditated in the morning to accumulate experience. In the afternoon, he cultivated dazzling sun slash, and his days were quite fulfilling. On the day the whole family came, Zhou Fu, who was sitting cross-legged in the training room, opened his eyes. Vajra Battle Body leveled up. Ding! Vajra Battle Body leveled up successfully. Current level, 6. Continue leveling up. Ding! Vajra Battle Body leveled up successfully. Current level, 7. As the notification sounded, hot currents gushed out from Zhou Fu's body, constantly strengthening his body. Not bad. After reaching perfection, it can actually strengthen the internal organs. The strengthening of the internal organs made Zhou Fu very surprised. Before, this cultivation technique only strengthened the body. As for the internal organs, it relied on the body's reverse nurturing to be able to obtain a slight improvement. Circulating his inner strength, Zhou Fu felt it for a moment, and the joy on his face became even more intense. Not bad. Now my internal organs are 50% stronger than before. He called out the stats page and looked at the cultivation technique column. Vajra Battle Body. Level Perfection, Realm, Beginner. Characteristics: Physical Strengthening, Damage Resistance. Damage Resistance? Looking at the new stats, Zhou Fu raised his left arm, and a platinum light appeared on the fingertips of his right hand. Then, he slashed his left arm. Zing! After the sound of metal scraping rang out, there was only a white mark on his left arm, and even the skin was not damaged. Seeing this, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a bright light. What a good damage resistance! That slash just now, even if it was a second blood transformation realm, as long as it wasn't a cultivator who specialized in body refining, it would still be able to open a wound. I didn't expect that it would only land on my body with a scratch. TSK, not bad, not bad. He happily muttered in a low voice. Suddenly, a trace of a smirk appeared on his face. Looks like there's going to be fun today. Let me see how strong the so-called disciples of famous sects are. Looking at the stats page, he had already accumulated 100% experience points. He sneered in his heart. Young master, shopkeeper Jean sent news that the Ho clan has already left. Yuju's voice sounded. When Zhou Fu arrived at the powder music workshop, Jin Peng, Duan Cheng, and the others hurriedly greeted him. Sir, the Ho clan's people are almost here. The one leading them was Ho Yong, who came to cause trouble. There were 8 monks in the group that came with him. This subordinate can't see through 2 of them. Duan Cheng quickly reported the information to Zhou Fu. After listening to the report, Zhou Fu didn't care. As of now, he had maxed out 2 of the powerful cultivation techniques he had learned. There was also the Earth rank Brilliant Sun Slash. He had also leveled it up to level 4. 2 more levels and it would be maxed out. Today, he even brought along the long saber-brilliant Sunday. He wanted to use the two Exuvia realm monks to practice. At the same time, he wanted to test whether or not he could quickly accumulate proficiency points and increase his leveling speed. Zhou Fu nodded to Duanqing, indicating that he already knew. Then, he turned to look at Jean Peng and asked, "The surrounding ordinary people have all been moved?" There were still many ordinary people around the powder music workshop. A few days ago, Zhou Fu instructed Jean Peng to persuade the surrounding ordinary people to leave by today. After the matter was settled, he would let those people return. At that time, if there were any losses, he would arrange for compensation. After Jean Peng, who followed closely behind Zhou Fu, heard, he hurriedly said, "This subordinate has already arranged it. The workers have also calculated the surrounding things. Everything is recorded." After saying that, he continued to praise. In today's world, to be able to meet such a kind-hearted person like Sir, it is also those people's fortune. Although there were suspicions of flattery, it wasn't too exaggerated. Fights between cultivators would more or less cause quite a bit of damage, but very few people would care about it. Of course, if there was a fight between different forces, the nature would be different. At that time, the officials would come forward and ask for compensation, and they could also make a fortune. Driven by profits, the government even hoped that these gangs would cause trouble and fight in the downtown area whenever they had nothing to do. Just as they were chatting, a guard ran in from outside. "Sir, the people from the Ho family are here." Bang! 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 Zhou Fu's heart beat quickly, and a surge of hot blood filled his body. He laughed heartily. At this moment, he felt that he was especially energetic. He grabbed the long saber with his left hand and unsheathed it with a whoosh. "Let's go." Jean Peng and Duanqing next to him were dumbfounded. What's going on? According to the procedure, shouldn't they talk first? Then, the conversation failed, and the atmosphere became tense. Then, they would start cursing and finally fight. Why did they draw their sabers before they even met? When they came out of the door, there was no one else on the street except for the two groups of people. However, the restaurants near the street were full of people. In the best restaurant, there was a private room on the top floor. Zhao Wu, the guardian of Ningdong City, was sitting in the main seat. Next to him was Xing Jingtu, the level 5 expert that the Xing family sent to the giant whale to guard the martial arts manuals. Next to him was Xing Gang. Sitting opposite Xing Gang was Zhu Daoan, the leader of the Red Sea Gang. On his left, near Zhao Wu, was Zhu Daoan's uncle. Like Xing Jingtu, he was also a level 5 expert, Zhu Hongda. Look everyone! Xing Jingtu pointed at the hostel street. Only the people of the giant whale are kind. If it were anyone else, who knows how many innocent people would have been killed. What does this mean? It means that the Xing family is full of good people. You can forget about it. Xing Jingtu, you have to know that a blind cat running into a dead mouse doesn't mean that you know how to catch mice. Zhu Hongda sneered. The chopsticks in his hand shook, and a peanut on the plate was thrown at him. Bah! Xing Jingtu picked up the peanut with his chopsticks and said in the same disdainful tone as Zhu Hongda, "So what? You're talking as if the Zhu family has anything good. If I remember correctly, your kid tore down a restaurant a few days ago." Sitting opposite Xing Gang, Zhu Daoan's face darkened, but there was a helpless look in his eyes. He replied, "Uncle Jingtu, can you not drag me into this? Besides, it's been a long time since that incident. It's been more than a year, right? Do you still remember?" "Hey kid." Xing Jingtu shook his head with a smile. "How can I not remember? That was the first time Zhou Fu came to Ning, an East City. Right, speaking of which, I almost forgot. That Zhou Fu was going to your house, wasn't he? TSK, what a pity." Zhu Daoan's heart sank. He looked down at the plate in front of him and didn't say anything else. These people had already found out about Zhou Fu's matter. Almost everyone knew that the Zhu family had let a prodigy go. Later on, the Red Sea Gang's stronghold at Ning and East City's harbor was almost destroyed. No one would believe that it wasn't Zhou Fu's doing. Humph. Your Xing family sure knows how to take advantage of others. It was like this in the past, and it's still like this now. Zhu Hongda scolded indignantly. Zhao Wu, the Ning and East City's garrison commissioner, was sitting in the main seat. He didn't care about the Xing and Zhu families' matters. Instead, he looked out the window and asked, "Two of those monks are at level 1 of the extraordinary realm, and they've even opened their acupoints. According to tradition, they should have opened the swordsman acupoint to strengthen their bodies. Also, if I'm not wrong, that Zhou kid is still at the blood transformation realm, right?" Chapter 251. At this time, Xing Gang opened his mouth and said, "Yes, Zhou Fu is now at the 3rd blood transformation realm." 3rd blood transformation realm. Zhao Wu muttered to himself, then asked, "Xing Gang, what do you think Zhou Fu's chances of winning are?" Hearing Zhao Wu's question, everyone at the table looked at Xing Gang. Xing Gang smiled and said, "Chances of winning? That depends on how long Zhou Fu wants to play." "And? Play for how long?" Everyone around them had a strange expression. Xing Jingtu's expression changed slightly, and he asked in a deep voice, "That Zhou Fu can really fight 1 against 2? His opponent is still at the Exuvia realm?" Looking at his own uncle, Xing Gang sneered in his heart. If this old thing didn't stir things up, why would his 3rd brother find Zhou Fu? However, he wasn't worried that Xing Jingtu would side with his 3rd brother unless the other party was looking for death. Just like that day 10 years ago, although he lost in the competition. However, many experts from his 3rd brother's mother's family died later on. That family still hasn't recovered from the trauma they suffered. There was a deep meaning behind this. Xing Gang replied, "Uncle, you also know that Zhou Fu cultivated the body refining hall's specialty." At this point, Xing Jingtu's expression darkened. Everyone present knew about Zhou Fu's cultivation method, but they couldn't say it out loud. However, Xing Gang ignored Xing Jingtu's expression, as if he didn't see it, and continued, "Moreover, I also fought with Zhou Fu before. I didn't expect him to cultivate the adamantine battle body to the advanced stage. My hand hurt, but he was still fine. At that time, he was only at the 1st blood transformation realm." At this moment, Xing Jingtu's eyes were about to spit fire. How could he not know about this? If they had known about this, the Xing family would have settled today's matter. He would never let Zhou Fu be exposed to everyone like this. A strange smile appeared on Zhao Wu's face. Oh? Was it really adamantine battle body? Where did he get it? Of course, Zhao Wu knew Zhou Fu's cultivation method. However, seeing that Xing Gang had already made things clear, he didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. After all, how could those who were here to watch the show complain that things were getting out of hand? Zhou Fu has a good friend, the eldest grandson of the Bai family, Bai Lang. It's him. Seeing that Xing Jingtu's face was almost as black as the bottom of a pot, as an old rival, Zhu Hongda also joined in. He said, "If I remember correctly, Bai Lang is the grandson-in-law of an expert in the body refining hall, right?" Xing Gang nodded. "That's right. Shut up." Xing Jingtu couldn't stand it anymore and scolded Xing Gang. Everything was almost clear, and he also knew that it wouldn't help even if he turned Xing Gang into a mute. However, he was still angry, and scolding him was also to vent. Hey, don't be so angry. It's not good for your health." Zhu Hongda dissuaded him hypocritically. As he expected, after hearing this, Xing Jingtu, who was sitting opposite him, rolled his eyes. At this moment, Zhu Daoan, who was sitting opposite Xing Gang, asked, "Even if Zhou Fu has cultivated the adamantine battle body to the advanced stage, he can't take on 2 extraordinary level 1 cultivators, right? Moreover, they have opened the swordsman acupoint." Xing Gang grinned. "I forgot to mention that Zhou Fu has also mastered the great Sun True energy of the Defo Temple." "What? What? The Great Sun True Energy? Everyone present knew that the Great Sun True Energy and the adamantine battle body had a lot to do with each other. It could even be said that the adamantine battle body evolved from the Great Sun True Sutra. Where did Zhou Fu get the Great Sun True Energy? Xing Jingtu's voice became shrill. Seeing that Xing Jingtu was about to go berserk, Xing Gang was delighted. What was he afraid of? He wasn't the one who gave him the technique. Hee, uncle, don't be angry. It's just the Great Sun True Energy. Not only that, but an expert from the Defo Temple also personally explained it to Zhou Fu. As soon as he said that, everyone fell silent. Xing Gang's words contained a lot of information. Everyone present was smart, and they instantly grasped the main point. First of all, the origin of the Great Sun True Energy in Zhou Fu's hands. Secondly, why did the expert from the Defo Temple appear and explain it to Zhou Fu? In the past, the expert from the Defo Temple was indebted to the Xing family, and he imparted the Great Sun True Energy to the Xing family as a form of repayment. Furthermore, the Xing family's third young master, Xing Feng, had once helped an expert from the Defo Temple. These old grudges surfaced in everyone's minds. If what Xing Gang said was true, then things would be interesting. Xing Jingtu was stunned for a moment, and then his gaze became fierce. He looked coldly at Xing Feng, nodded and said, "Good. Very good. All of you. Very good." Zhu Daoan grinned. Seeing the internal strife in the Xing family today really made him feel very pleased. However, Xing Gang saw his expression. Xing Gang sneered. "Zhu Daoan, are you feeling very pleased?" "No, no." Zhu Daoan hurriedly shook his head, indicating that he was not that kind of person. However, he could not hide the gloating smile on his face. "Don't you think that you are celebrating too early?" Zhu Daoan frowned at the sinister voice. "Xing Gang, what do you mean? Did you damage your brain from training too much?" Of course, the Zhu clan knew the truth behind Xing Feng's cultivation of the extreme Yang Burning Sky skill. The pain of being used as a test subject naturally became a target for attack. Indeed, Xing Gang's eyes lit up when he heard this. "What? You want to fight?" Xing Gang stared at Zhu Daoan and suddenly grinned. "Zhu Daoan, the eldest of the three of us, already has a foundation establishment technique. You all know this. In 2 years, Xing Feng and I will fight for an opportunity. Of course, we may not have to fight for it. However, no matter what the outcome is, 2 of us will leave. The one who stays will become the leader of the Xing family." "What exactly do you mean?" Xing Gang chuckled. Even the expression on his face began to turn ferocious, revealing a hint of cruelty. "The Zhu family also has 3 outstanding people in this generation. Unfortunately, none of them has a foundation establishment technique. When the time comes, the Zhu family will be very lively. I just don't know which of the 3 of you will be able to fight for that position." After Xing Gang finished speaking, Zhu Daoan felt that something was amiss. Suddenly, he understood. What did he mean by which of the 3 brothers would be able to take that position? According to Xing Gang, none of the 3 brothers would be able to obtain a technique in the foundation establishment competition in 2 years? Zhu Daoan's eyes turned pitch black, and black veins appeared at the corners of his eyes. It was obvious that the inner strength in his body had been activated. "What's the use of looking at me? How many of us can compete with my big brother? When the foundation establishment mystic realm opens, will you be able to withstand it?" "Humph!" Zhu Daoan snorted. "Xing Zhen is powerful, but I don't know who he will help." Xing Gang chuckled. "No matter who I help, I won't help you." "Bastard!" "Enough!" Zhu Hongda shouted in a low voice. He looked at Xing Jingtu and said, "The Xing family is lucky this time, but I don't know if it will continue." "Hey! Then you don't have to worry about it," Xing Jingtu retorted. Seeing that the 2 families had stopped arguing, Zhao Wu said, "Ha ha, this is a matter for the younger generation. Us old people shouldn't worry about it. Besides, the main character today is Zhou Fu." As Zhao Wu spoke, everyone turned to look at the street. On the street, Zhou Fu walked to the center and stabbed his long saber into the ground. On the opposite side, the whole family team also saw Zhou Fu. The carriage at the front of the team stopped. A whole family guard rushed to the side of the carriage and said something through the window. The curtain of the carriage was lifted, and a young man in his 20s walked out. He had an arrogant look on his face as he walked out of the carriage. Then, 2 monks came out of the carriage. When the young man saw Zhou Fu, his face was full of disdain. He pointed at Zhou Fu from afar. "You are," Zhou Fu grinned and did not give the other party a chance to speak. He exerted force on his feet, and the blue stone paved ground cracked. Then, he stomped his feet and the ground shook. The cracked stone was shaken up. Immediately after, he kicked the stone with his inner strength and threw it over. The stones tore through the air and made a sharp sound. The Ho clan's troops were also stunned by this sudden change. What was going on? They had just met and they had not even spoken a word. Why did they start fighting? "How dare you, bastard!" 4 figures jumped out from the Ho family team behind them. They attacked at the same time, creating a strong wind as they hit the stones. Bang! 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 The stones crumbled and the power on them exploded. The inner force on the 4 people's arms instantly shattered, and the power poured into their bodies, shattering the protective force on their bodies. In the midst of screams, they vomited blood and flew back. The eyes of the 2 monks, standing at the front of the team, flashed. They looked at Zhou Fu again, and their eyes were different. What a powerful force! What a terrifying control! Such a powerful force wrapped around the shattered stones. After flying for more than 10 meters, he was still able to send the 4 Ho family guards flying. It was enough to show that Zhou Fu's cultivation was tyrannical. Several figures jumped out of the team. 2 of them waved their sleeves and caught the 4 guards who were flying back. After landing, they handed them to the Ho family people next to them. Zhou Fu looked at the people who jumped out. They were wearing the same bluestone clothes and had the same solemn expression. His eyes revealed a hint of a smile. Not bad. Their auras were very stable. They were indeed cultivators from famous sections. Zhou Fu looked across and sneered, "Cut the crap. If you want my fan music workshop, let me see if you are qualified." As soon as his voice fell, Zhou Fu jumped up and quickly came in front of the group of monks. He punched down in the air. The fierce and domineering fist force surged out and hit the ground with a whistling sound. Attack! The 6 monks who had just jumped out of the team attacked at the same time. For a moment, golden light shone in all directions. Boom! The fist force landed. With a loud bang, the surging inner force set off a wave of air that swept in all directions. Chapter 252. After the attack, Zhou Fu turned around and retreated 10 steps away. The ground under the feet of the 6 monks who took Zhou Fu's punch had already shattered, and their entire feet were punched into the ground. An abnormal flush appeared on their faces, but it was suppressed in the blink of an eye. All of this was seen by the 2 monks behind them. They looked at each other and saw the surprise on each other's faces. "Is this the Vajra battle body? But the strength shouldn't be so terrifying," said a monk. "Junior brother Xinhua, if I'm not wrong, this person also cultivates the great Sun True Qi of the Defo Temple." "Thank you for your reminder, senior brother Xinqing." Monk Xian Hua thanked Xian Qing beside him and said, "I'm afraid this kid's physical body is not much worse than ours." Xinqing nodded. "I've long heard that the body tempering technique of the Body Tempering Hall was unique. Not only did they absorb the concept of the immovable Vajra Sutra of the Defo Temple, but they also integrated some things of the Great Sun True Scripture. I thought that those things would disappear with the destruction of the Body Tempering Hall. I didn't expect that there would still be some left in the world. Senior brother, wait a moment. Let me test him first." Xinhua took a step forward and said in a deep voice, "Junior brothers, you're not his match. Retreat first." The 6 monks looked at each other, and their faces were filled with unwillingness. But there was no other way. Senior brother Xinhua had already spoken. They responded and retreated to the team. Xinhua took 3 steps closer to Zhou Fu and said, "I'm Xinhua of the Xingfu Temple. I'm here to experience the unique skills of the Body Tempering Hall." He didn't waste any time. After introducing himself, he shouted in a low voice, "Take this!" Golden light bloomed, and waves of fluctuations appeared in the air. Xinhua struck out with his palm, and a beast roar sounded in the air. The condensed palm shadow shook the air, and struck Zhou Fu with bursts of internal strength. "This thing, is it really a Buddhist cultivation technique? Why is it so fierce?" Looking at Xinhua's move, Zhou Fu muttered. The inner strength in his body surged, and a white-gold inner strength flowed under his skin like water. Compared to Xianhua's radiance, Zhou Fu seemed much more ordinary. He threw out a punch and met the incoming palm shadow. Boom! There was a loud bang. The beast form in the void instantly collapsed. The fist did not stop, breaking through the layers of inner strength and colliding with the newly formed golden palm. Clang! The fist and palm collided, as if 2 massive iron blocks had collided together. For a moment, the 2 of them were engaged in a fierce battle. The explosive energy surged violently, and the rumbling sounds were unceasing. At this time, the Ho family and Fun Yinfang's people all retreated until they were 100 steps away. The 2 people in the field quickly exchanged close to 100 moves. After Xianhua struck out with his palm and forced Zhou Fu to retreat, he also retreated in a flash. "Zhou Fu, right?" Xianhua gasped for breath. The battle just now was a real fight, which consumed a lot of his physical strength and inner strength. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing his slightly trembling arm, which was covered in purplish-green fist marks. When Xian Cheng, who was standing at the back, saw those marks, his pupils constricted and his heart sank. As Xianhua's senior brother, he naturally knew his junior brother's strength. Even compared to him, Xianhua was not far off. In other words, if he had gone up just now, the outcome would not have been much better. Xian Cheng turned his head to look at the dumbfounded Ho Yong behind him. His face was gloomy. The situation in front of him was different from what the other party had said. Hence, he asked in a deep voice, "Ho Yong, didn't you say that Zhou Fu was just an idle blood transformation 3rd realm cultivator?" He cursed in his heart. Is this the F*King idle blood transformation realm? He had almost beaten up the extraordinary beings from famous sections. How could he be idle? Ho Yong was also stunned. He was very confused and panicked. Previously, that was what everyone had said about Zhou Fu. He was from the countryside and had never seen the world. It was all thanks to the giant whale's busyness and the internal strife that he had today's achievements. Now that he saw it today, why was it like this? Seeing Ho Yong's expression, Xian Cheng snorted. It seemed that the other party was also not clear about Zhou Fu's true strength. He turned around and looked at Zhou Fu. He thought to himself, fortunately, even if the other party can contend with Xianhua, there is still Xian Cheng. As long as the 2 of them work together, wouldn't it be easy to take down the other party? Although he thought so, he still secretly hated the Ho family. When the Heong Mystery Realm was over, he would definitely ask the Ho family for an explanation. Looking at Xianhua again, his arms were glowing with a gentle light. Those fist marks were also fading at a speed visible to the naked eye. When all the scars disappeared, Xianhua looked at Zhou Fu and said with a faint smile, "If not for the opened acupoints, these injuries would really give me a headache." He said this to put pressure on Zhou Fu. He wanted to let Zhou Fu know that cultivators in the Exuvia realm were different after opening their acupoints. Zhou Fu snorted at Xianhua's verbal attack. In the battle just now, the other party had also left some scars on him. The difference was that those scars had already healed under his powerful healing ability. Vajra Battle Body had already been tested, and the effect was very good. According to the situation just now, even if an Exuvia Realm 2 came, he could still fight it head-on. Next would be the saber technique. Zhou Fu reached back and grabbed in the air. Not far away, the saber stabbed into the ground, flew out, and landed in his hand. He raised the saber and pointed it at Xianhua. On the saber, layers of platinum lines appeared. The blazing heat made the air around the saber start to roll. Xiancheng and Xianhua's eyes flashed. They thought to themselves, "This is Great Sun True Qi." Xianhua looked at Xiancheng and shouted, "Senior brother?" Xiancheng nodded and stepped forward. He said, "Since you want to use a weapon, I can't watch junior brother Xianhua be at a disadvantage." In the surrounding restaurants, a large number of curses could be heard. They were all saying that Xiancheng was shameless. At Exuvia Realm, as long as the other party didn't use a divine weapon, there was no difference whether he was barehanded or wielding a weapon. The saber in Zhou Fu's hand didn't have the unique aura of a divine weapon. Among the spectators, there was also someone Zhou Fu was familiar with. He came from Defo Temple, Fong Guan. When he saw that Xiancheng and Xianhua were going to team up to fight Zhou Fu, he felt a warm sensation on his face. This was too shameful for Buddhism. Who would do something like this? Ba, the monks of Xingfu Temple are really. After muttering for a long time, he couldn't say the word shameless. Sitting beside Fong Guan was an old monk. Even his eyebrows were gray. After hearing Fong Guan's words, he said, "Xingfu Temple is different from my temple. Although the monks in the temple are called monks, they don't practice Buddhist scriptures. Their style of doing things is more towards the Jianghu. It's not strange for them to do something like this." Fong Guan quickly said, "Martial uncle is right." This old monk was Fong Guan's martial uncle. His Buddhist name was Miao Ju. Monk Miao Ju looked at Zhou Fu. His eyes flickered slightly. He praised in a low voice, "This almsgiver Zhou is indeed extraordinary. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe that there is a cultivator in this world who can use the Great Sun True Qi to condense the true meaning of the Great Sun." "What?" Fong Guan suddenly opened his eyes wide and exclaimed in surprise. Seeing Miao Ju looking over, he lowered his voice and quickly said, "Martial uncle, you didn't see wrongly, did you? A few months ago, Zhou Fu hadn't mastered the Great Sun True Qi. How can he have the true meaning of the Great Sun now?" Miao Ju didn't care about Fong Guan's doubts. He smiled faintly and said, "There are many obstacles in this world that can blind one's thoughts, actions, and knowledge. Therefore, you have to look with your heart. Have you not been studying Buddhist scriptures recently? When you go back, go to the recitation hall and practice in seclusion for a month." Fong Guan's expression suddenly changed. He turned his head and his face fell. There were two people that the great Buddhist temple's younger generation feared the most. One was the Abstinence Yard's first seat, Zen Master Miao Yin. The other was Zen Master Miao Ju. Needless to say, the Abstinence Yard had its own dignity. And Zen Master Miao Ju was in charge of the great Buddhist temple's collection. If you were targeted by him, not only would you be made to copy the scriptures, you would also be made to explain them. If you didn't explain well, you would have to continue copying. In this way, the punished monk would suffer both physically and mentally. None of the younger generation could escape. At the mention of Miao Ju, all the monks' expressions changed. The corners of Miao Ju's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a smile. Young people were all hot-blooded. He had also experienced such a period. Especially after he gained his skills, he was filled with energy and wanted the world to know him. Although he could rapidly increase his cultivation in such a state, it wasn't good for his Buddhist Dharma cultivation. The world knew that Buddhist and Taoist cultivation techniques were extremely powerful, but few knew that those powerful cultivation techniques required a deep foundation in Buddhist Dharma or Taoist Dharma. Otherwise, in the end, it would be like a castle in the air, a flower in the mirror, or the moon in the water. Once one's luck declined, it would collapse like a bubble. One had to know that the stronger the cultivator in this world, the more reasonable they were. Miao Ju turned his head to look at Zhou Fu on the street outside the window. He sensed that he was like a huge fireball. If his restrained aura were to erupt, the two Xingfu temple monks would not be able to withstand it. Benefactor Zhou, what are you trying to do? Together? It's not impossible. Zhou Fu grinned, and the aura he released suddenly tightened. The next moment the saber tore through the air. Kill. The new duo looked at each other and nodded. At the same time, they shouted and struck out with their right palms. The saber light slashed down. Boom. The ground of the street and the windows of the surrounding houses were instantly torn apart by the surging inner strength. The three figures collided. For a moment, golden light flashed and heat waves surged. The moves of Yaoyang Chop flowed out from Zhou Fu's saber like flowing water. The fierce saber light constantly tore apart the inner strength coming from the opposite side, and then slashed toward the bodies of the two. The new duo also displayed the characteristics of the cultivation techniques they cultivated. Their abnormally strong golden bodies resisted the slash of the Yaoyang Chop. Chapter 253. The more Zhou Fu fought, the more excited he got. Other than not using true meaning of Great Sun, he used all his other abilities. The carefree battle made him more and more adept at using his own strength. His moves also began to integrate into his own style. After 100 moves, the voice of the support system rang out as expected. The level of Dazzling Sun slash rose from level 4 to level 5. Different from Zhou Fu, Xian Cheng and Hua Hua felt more awkward as they fought. According to their previous thoughts, although Zhou Fu could suppress Xian Hua, with his participation, they would be able to quickly take down Zhou Fu. But things didn't go as they wished. Not only did they fail to take down Zhou Fu, the pressure on them was constantly increasing. Why was it like this? No. There's a problem. Xian Cheng's face suddenly changed. His thoughts turned rapidly, and even the rhythm of his attacks began to change. Beside him, Xian Hua suddenly felt the pressure rapidly increasing, and there were a few more wounds on his body. He turned to look at Xian Cheng, and found that the other party was distracted. This made him furious. Just as he was about to wake Xian Cheng up, a saber light slashed towards his neck. Bastard! Xian Hua waved his palms, and a faint beast shadow appeared behind him. Roar! The beast shadow roared towards the sky, and suddenly raised its front paw, and attacked Zhou Fu. Come on! Zhou Fu was still worrying about how to stimulate the fighting spirit of the two people opposite him. Before he could think of a method, the other party erupted. The Dazzling Sun long saber's light burst out, and the sharp saber chi cut through the air, and slashed on the beast's paw. Rumble! Zhou Fu was sent flying, and smashed into the ground, shattering the surrounding ground. What a strong force! Zhou Fu, who was lying on the ground, was fine. He first praised and then stood up. At this moment, his clothes were already torn, leaving only a few cloth strips hanging on his body. There was a tearing sound. He tore off the cloth strip. Impossible! It's fake! How is this possible? Xian Cheng and Xian Hua instantly opened their eyes wide, looking at Zhou Fu's body without any scars. They were stunned. After Zhou Fu tore off the cloth, he clearly felt a large number of gazes and a strange power being projected on him. What was going on? His heart sank. Wasn't he just shirtless? Why did it feel like the world around him was different? Before he could continue probing, Xian Cheng had already regained his senses. He stared at Zhou Fu and even ignored Xian Hua, who was looking at him questioningly from the side. He said fiercely, "Good. You're good. He actually treated us as whetstones. How arrogant!" Hearing this, Xian Hua was stunned. What did he mean? Whetstone? What whetstone? When he turned his head to look at Zhou Fu again, he only heard the other party laughing heartily. Ha 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 ha! I've finally met someone with eyes. Zhou Fu waved the long saber in his hand provocatively and smiled proudly. You don't say, with the two of you today, at least I've saved a few days of hard work. Xian Hua instantly opened his eyes wide, his gaze moving back and forth between Zhou Fu and Xian Qing. No. Impossible. He didn't believe it was true. Nonsense. Xian Hua pointed at Zhou Fu and shouted, You're just in the blood transformation realm, in front of us two exuvia who have opened up acupoints. You're actually so arrogant. Just now we were just thinking that it wasn't easy for you to cultivate, and we didn't want to kill you. Now, it seems that not only did you not understand our good intentions, it even encouraged your arrogance. Since that's the case, we won't hold back anymore. He turned his head to Xian Qing and said, Senior brother, let's go all out and kill him. Xian Qing nodded fiercely, Yes, kill him. The two of them roared, Kill. Zhou Fu grinned and said disdainfully, Kill me? Humph. Today I'll send you to paradise and let you meet the true Buddha. He waved his long saber and slashed at the two of them. In the restaurant. In the room of Ning, an East City guardian, Zhao Wu, the original square table had been replaced with a round table. There were a few more people beside him. They were the guardians of the other 4 cities. You guys sure are relaxed. Zhao Wu glanced at the other 4. There's nothing we can do. How can our place be as lively as Brother Zhao's place? Look, there's no street there. The ground can be directly planted with crop. The person who spoke was the South City Guardian, Wei Ming. As Wei Ming spoke, the West City Guardian, Lu Wanjun, and the North City Guardian, Wang Wei, laughed out loud. This ear-piercing laughter made Zhao Wu want to beat someone up. At this moment, the Ning, an City Guardian, who was also the 4's boss, Duan Sanshan, said, All right, it's about to end over there. Did you guys notice that there's something wrong with that kid named Zhou Fu? I saw it, one of them replied. Another person said, Although the 2 little monks' cultivation levels are still low, their strength is not inferior to that of an ordinary extraordinary level 2 cultivator. Look at the situation when they attack. Their inner strength has begun to condense. Moreover, they're about to cultivate the true meaning of martial arts. That's right. Even so, that Zhou Fu doesn't have a single wound on his body. The eyes of Zhao Wu and the others flickered. They looked at Zhou Fu's body and were silent for a long time. Is the Vajra battle body of the body refining hall really that powerful? After this question was raised, no one answered. After a while, someone said, No. It's not like we haven't seen the Vajra battle body before. There's definitely something wrong with this Zhou Fu. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Xinggang. In an instant, Xinggang felt as if a small mountain was pressing down on him. His entire body suddenly sank. At the same time, he cursed in his heart, Damn that Zhou Fu. He clearly has the strength to crush the opponent. Can't he just kill him directly? Why did he have to dawdle? Now something has happened, damn it. Even I'm going to suffer. Second young Master Xing, aren't you going to say something? What a second young Master Xing. The corner of Xinggang's mouth twitched. I know a little about this. Not only did Zhou Fu cultivate the Vajra battle body, but he also cultivated the spring breeze and rain body nourishing technique. Coupled with the great sun true qi, the combination of these techniques might have a different effect. As soon as he said that, everyone in the room frowned. They knew about the spring breeze and rain body nourishing technique and had seen it before. Even if Zhou Fu cultivated it, it wouldn't be like this. They were all thinking, could it be that the Vajra battle body really has such a miraculous effect when combined with the great sun true qi? Could it be that the body refining hall's pursuit has succeeded? The room fell silent again. When they looked at Zhou Fu again, the expression in their eyes had changed. Enough. Duan Sanshan said, Let's put Zhou Fu's matter aside for now. It won't run away. Right now, those 2 little monks seem to have angered Zhou Fu. If we don't take action, perhaps the old monk from Xingfu Temple will come looking for us tomorrow. After saying that, he looked at Zhao Wu. Sigh. I'll go now. Zhao Wu sighed. It wasn't because he wanted to take action, but because he foresaw that after today, Ning, an East City, would no longer be peaceful. Damn the body refining hall. They had already turned into ashes, but they still managed to stir up trouble. You don't need to take action, Duan Sanshan suddenly said. Without waiting for others to ask, he said again, the great Buddha temple sent someone. Duan Sanshan walked to the window and looked not far away, saying, let me see. TSK, it's actually a wondrous feeling. Good guy, this old monk is about to break through to Exuvia, right? Everyone present suddenly shuddered. Break through to Exuvia? Why would such a big shot come here? Zhou Fu's saber slashed through the joint attack of Xian Cheng's duo, and with a backhand, he blasted the two away. He felt the power from the long sword. It was 30% stronger than before. These two bastards, it seems they're really going all out. Under their madness, Zhou Fu knew that he wouldn't be able to take them down in a short time. The two monks' resistance and recovery abilities were very strong. What made him feel even more annoyed was that the two monks actually began to eat pills. At that moment, the monks who had been injured by Zhou Fu and the Ho family's team were already fine. They even took 2 steps towards the battlefield. It seemed they wanted to surround and attack. Zhou Fu thought about it and called out the stats page. He quickly locked onto a cultivation method he threw in the corner. Dragon Subduing Art. Dragon Subduing Art. Level 15. Specialty: Strength Enhancement. The current situation didn't allow Zhou Fu to break through. Zhou Fu had too little information about the mortal evolution state, especially information about the aperture point. Although Xinggang told him some, it was too little. He still had to be steady. Hence, the best method now was to improve his cultivation method. Improve Dragon Subduing Art. Ding. Dragon Subduing Art has successfully leveled up. Current level, 2. As the notification sounded, Zhou Fu's muscles started to tremble. Waves of fiery qi and blood boiled in his body. Power, he seemed to feel endless power. The new disciples on the other side also noticed Zhou Fu's abnormality. He broke through. Xian Hua was stunned and shook his head. No, he's still in the blood transformation state. There's no aura of the mortal evolution state. I'm talking about his cultivation method. He should have broken through. Cultivation method? Xian Hua's heart clenched. This kid couldn't be left alive. Otherwise, he would definitely become their inner demon. If that happened, it would be hard for them to achieve great things in the future. This kid must be killed. Yes. Zhou Fu also saw the changes in their expressions. Although he didn't know how to read minds, he knew that they definitely didn't have anything good to say. Improve Dragon Subduing Art again. Seeing the experience points disappear on the support interface, Zhou Fu felt as though there was an invisible hammer that treated him as a piece of metal and continuously hammered him. The hammer hammered down, causing Zhou Fu's qi and blood to tremble non-stop. Bung! A wound appeared on Zhou Fu's body, but it recovered in the blink of an eye. Zhou Fu was shocked. Although he didn't bleed, this sudden situation still caused his heart to tremble. What was going on? Could it be that his current body constitution couldn't support the Dragon Subduing Art? Was this cultivation method so domineering? One must know that he had maxed out Vajra Battle Body, Great Sun True Chi, and Ming King Sutra. Chapter 254. Pung! Another scar appeared on his body. Zhou Fu's face turned ugly. He could feel something gushing out of his body. At this moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Could it be that it was similar to marrow cleansing? Was it trying to expel the impurities in his body through his blood? If that was really the case, then this cultivation technique was simply too tyrannical. After thinking it through, he no longer hesitated and threw the long saber in his hand behind him. Then, he raised his fingers and slashed his left arm. Puff! A wound appeared, and a large amount of black-red blood gushed out. The sudden change stunned everyone who was watching. The same question appeared in their minds. What's going on? Why is he hurting himself? As the black-red blood flowed out, Zhou Fu could feel his bones and muscles becoming stronger. Another disadvantage was that his blood and qi were being consumed too quickly. With a tap of his foot, he turned into a shadow and arrived beside Huang Feng. My lord, blood yang pill. Huang Feng hurriedly took out a small jade bottle. But before he could pass it to Zhou Fu grabbed it and crushed the bottle. The blood yang pill inside rolled into his hand. He rubbed his hands together, and the wax covering the pill fell to the ground. He raised his head and swallowed the pill in his hand. All of this happened very quickly. It wasn't until Zhou Fu ate the pill that the two new senior and junior brothers reacted. Don't let him eat the pill. Kill him before the effects of the drug take effect. As soon as the pill entered Zhou Fu's stomach, it turned into surging essence qi. Then, it was catalyzed into qi, blood, and inner force, replenishing what Zhou Fu had consumed. At the same time, his blood stopped flowing out and the wound on his arm healed. How strong was a threefold increase? Zhou Fu wanted to know the answer. Looking at the two people rushing over, he sneered and disappeared in a flash. Let's see how strong a threefold increase is. A cold light flashed in Zhou Fu's eyes. He gathered his strength and punched. Xian Cheng and Xian Hua attacked at the same time. Their palms were dyed in gold by the frenzied inner strength. Xian Hua pushed his special skill, the Golden Lion Protection Technique, to the limit. The beast shadow that had disappeared earlier appeared behind him again. Xian Cheng, who was at the side, had a solemn expression. As he struck out with his palms, a translucent shadow that looked like a Buddha appeared behind him. The translucent Buddha stood in the air. Following Xian Cheng's action, it also raised its palms and smashed towards Zhou Fu. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Zhou Fu laughed excitedly. You should have done this a long time ago. Previously, you were so cowardly that you didn't want to put in any effort. Now you're finally doing something. Come, let's fight. Two fists flew through the air, and the three figures clashed once again amidst the rumbling sounds. Good guy. The Golden Lion Protection Technique of the Xingfu Temple and the Arhat's Demon Subduing Palm, one of the temple's divine skills. It seems that these two have worked hard. Otherwise, they wouldn't have such attainments. Fang Guan, who had already arrived at the side of the street, commented while looking at the two from the Xingfu Temple. Hearing that, Miao Ju nodded and said, These two people indeed have some talent. They can be considered talent. Hearing his martial uncle's evaluation of the two, Fang Guan rolled his eyes and asked, Martial uncle, do you think these two can suppress Zhou Fu? They can't. Miao Ju quickly answered without waiting for Fang Guan's voice to finish. He turned to look at Fang Guan and said, The true meaning of the Great Sun is not that simple. But those two have also comprehended the true meaning of martial arts. Miao Ju sighed. You should know that there are different levels of martial arts. The Golden Lion Protection Technique and the Arhat's Demon Subduing Palm are far inferior to the true meaning of the Great Sun. Don't worry and watch. Who knows, we might have to fight later. Fang Guan nodded. Judging from the martial arts displayed by the two, these two must be the future pillars of Xingfu Temple. If Zhou Fu were to kill the two of them, it would cause even more trouble. Just as Fang Guan was looking for an opportunity to fight, Miao Ju suddenly transmitted, Look for an opportunity. It's best if you can do Zhou Fu a favor. Fang Guan's body froze, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help twitching. Uncle Master was making Zhou Fu owe him a debt of gratitude. In the field, although the two had begun to fight desperately, facing Zhou Fu, who had tripled his strength, they were defeated even faster than before. The three of them had only exchanged 20 to 30 moves, but the arms of the two had already ruptured with several wounds. Even their shoulders began to ache, and the bones in their arms were in extreme pain, as if they were about to break. The two looked at each other in horror, and saw fear and bitterness in each other's eyes. They were riding a tiger and couldn't get off. Junior brother, fight with him. Don't fight him head-on. Xian Cheng transmitted his voice. After hearing this, Xian Hua nodded slightly, and his originally fierce palm technique began to soften. After a dozen more moves, even though the two had changed their fighting style and focused on fighting, they still couldn't withstand Zhou Fu's great strength. Xian Cheng secretly gritted his teeth. They could lose. But not today, or Xingfu Temple would lose face. Therefore, he transmitted his voice to Zhou Fu, Almsgiver Zhou, we admit defeat. Let's stop. Zhou Fu looked at him in surprise. He didn't expect this person to admit defeat. He also wanted to say something to him, but he didn't know how to transmit his voice, so he could only blink. Xian Cheng was a little confused. Blink? What did he mean? So he transmitted his voice again. Almsgiver Zhou, we admit defeat today, and we will definitely come to apologize in the future. Let's stop today. Zhou Fu was helpless. His lips moved slightly and he whispered, pay the price. Then he punched out and hit Xian Cheng's palm with half of his strength. Feeling the weakening of his opponent's attack, Xian Cheng was delighted at first, but when he heard Zhou Fu's words, he suddenly frowned. The other party actually asked for a price. It was the first time he had seen it. Originally, he thought that after today's fight, he would find a time in 2 days to secretly bring his junior brother to apologize. Then, this matter would be over. He had learned about this from the seniors of his sect. He was not only simple but also stupid, but he believed it just like that. Almsgiver Zhou, we have already admitted defeat. Xian Cheng emphasized again. Zhou Fu looked at Xian Cheng as if he was looking at a fool, and he was greatly shocked. Damn it, there was actually such a fool in this world. It was really eye-opening. Cut the crap. If you want to be decent, fine. Buy it with money. Cultivation methods or elixirs will do. Xian Hua couldn't help but growl. Zhou Fu, don't be shameless. We are from Xingfu Temple. If you provoke us, you will suffer. Hearing Xian Hua speak so aggressively, Xian Cheng glanced at his junior brother unhappily, but because Zhou Fu's words made him very uncomfortable, he didn't say anything more. Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed out loud. He punched out again, this time with all his strength. With a bang, Xian Hua's expression changed drastically. He could feel that the bones in his arm had been broken. With a muffled groan, Xian Hua subconsciously took 2 steps back. This retreat directly left Xian Cheng alone in front of Zhou Fu. The sudden change stunned Xian Cheng, who was still angry, for a moment. In an instant, he knew what was going on. He looked at Zhou Fu angrily and shouted, "How dare you!" Zhou Fu snorted coldly and threw out 2 consecutive punches, forcing Xian Cheng to retreat. Then, he swept his leg over. Cut the crap. Either give me the money or I will beat you to the ground. Choose. Choose? Xian Cheng didn't want to choose. He glared at Zhou Fu angrily and crazily circulated his inner strength. He flipped his palm and slapped the leg that was coming at him. Although he repelled the attack, his palm was in intense pain. He couldn't take it anymore. If he continued to resist, his arms would be gone. However, just as Xian Cheng was about to accept the compensation, a steady voice sounded in Zhou Fu's ears. "Benefactor Zhou, I am Miao Ju, Fang Guan's martial uncle. I can see that Benefactor's great son Tru Qi has already reached the true meaning. This is truly worthy of celebration. Today I have something to discuss. I wonder if you can let these 2 people go on account of Defo Temple? Miao Ju? Fang Guan's martial uncle?" Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat and he turned to look to the side. There were 2 monks standing by the side of the street. One of them was monk Fang Guan, whom Zhou Fu was familiar with. When he saw Zhou Fu turn to look at him, he nodded with a smile. Zhou Fu quickly made a decision and retreated in a flash. He came to Fang Guan's side. "I'm Zhou Fu. Greetings, Master Miao Ju." Miao Ju returned the greeting. Benefactor, you are too polite. This penniless monk still needs to thank you. I wouldn't dare. I have a deep friendship with Fang Guan. In fact, you are my senior. When Fang Guan heard Zhou Fu's shameless words, his face twitched. He said with a mocking tone, Benefactor Zhou, I never expected you to change so much after not seeing you for a few months. In other words, he was implying that Zhou Fu's skin had become so thick after not seeing him for a few days. Just as Zhou Fu and company were talking, Xian Cheng and Xian Hua also looked at Miao Ju and Fang Guan. They knew Miao Ju. Several years ago, their master had brought them to Defo Temple for an exchange. It was at that time that they met the higher-ups of Defo Temple, including monk Miao Ju. The two hesitated for a moment before walking over together. Xian Cheng and Xian Hua of Xingfu Temple greets Zen Master Miao Ju. Miao Ju nodded at the two and said, Good, good. Is your master, Zen Master Fa Ming, doing well? Xian Cheng replied, Master has always been healthy. Thank you for your concern. Xian Hua, on the other hand, glanced at Zhou Fu with a smug smile on his face. It was as if he was saying, Who told you to be so arrogant? Our Buddhist seniors are here. So what if you are powerful? Seeing Xian Hua's arrogant look, Zhou Fu's eyes instantly turned cold. At this time, Fang Guan came to Zhou Fu's side and separated Zhou Fu and Xian Hua from each other. He pulled Zhou Fu to the side and whispered, In order to thank you for giving face to my martial uncle, let me remind you that this time you exposed your thwart training kung fu. You are in big trouble,